I don't remember the first time I forgot her name, but I remember the silence that followed. They told me it was a car accident, head trauma, temporary amnesia, that I was lucky to be alive. The doctor's voice was calm when he said it. My sister stood beside him, holding a plastic bag with my blood-stained wallet and a pair of cracked glasses I didn't recognize. The hospital walls smelled like bleach and burnt coffee. For weeks I stared at those walls trying to remember my name. Eventually it came back, and with it small fragments, birthday candles, cheap cologne, a black dog waiting at a front door. But her? Nothing. No face, no voice. Just a hole. They said her name was Elise. Apparently we'd been living together. She was the one who called 911. By the time the ambulance arrived, I was unconscious, and she was gone. They never found her, just a note that said, "I'm sorry I can't do this anymore," and blood on the kitchen tiles. Not mine. The cops suspected she'd run. There were whispers, financial trouble, arguments, a history of disappearances, but nobody pressed charges. No body, no crime. Eventually, I moved back into the apartment. It felt strange being there alone. The windows were still smeared with her fingerprints, and there was a gouge in the wooden floor beside the table where 2 chairs used to sit. I covered it with a rug and bought noise-canceling headphones. Every night I played white noise just to drown out the silence. Then, last Thursday, the memory came back. Not all at once, not like in the movies. It started with a sound. A box fell off the top shelf of my hallway closet. I must have shoved it up there during one of those early days when I was still trying to clear out everything that reminded me of her. The box cracked open on the floor. A sharp edge of something metal caught the hallway light. I picked it up. It was heavy, cold, black handle, rusted blade, a kitchen knife, one of ours, one I didn't even know was missing. There was dried blood on the tip, and with that touch, like a match to dry grass, everything ignited. Elise's face, her voice, the fight, and the moment I held that knife in my hand, not to use it, but to stop her. God, I sank to the floor. I don't know how long I sat there. The knife still in my lap, memories pulsing behind my eyes like a migraine. I remembered her face up close, screaming at me, mascara running down her cheeks. I remembered her shaking, sobbing that she was in danger, that someone was after her, that she didn't know who to trust. I remembered the words she shouted, "He's going to kill me," and then something darker, a figure in the doorway, male, a man I didn't know, Elise spinning toward him, me lunging, her screams. And then the blade. The thing is, I didn't stab anyone. I took the knife out of his hand, was trying to stop it, and that was the moment I lost everything. The next thing I remembered was the hospital. I called the police. They told me it had been nearly 2 years. They sounded skeptical. I could hear it in their voices, that familiar edge of suspicion wrapped in politeness. A detective named Harlan showed up that afternoon. Tall, sun-leathered face, one eye permanently narrowed like he didn't believe in blinking. He asked if I'd been drinking. I hadn't. He asked why I'd never turned in the knife. I told him I didn't know it existed. He asked if I wanted a lawyer, and that's when I realized he still thought I'd done it. That Elise was dead, that the knife was the missing link. Not a revelation, a confession. "You said someone else was in the apartment?" Harlan asked. "Yes." "You remember what he looked like?" "Tall, maybe 6'2", buzzed hair, scar under his right eye. Military jacket. He didn't write that down. just stared at me. "You're sure?" "I'm not guessing anymore," I said. "I remember." He nodded once and stood. "We'll process the weapon. Don't leave town." He said it casually, like I had a vacation planned. That night, I couldn't sleep. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, the windows darker. My mind raced with all the questions I should have asked 2 years ago. Why hadn't the police looked harder for Elise? Why did I forget everything except that? Why now? The next morning I walked to the corner store for coffee and saw something that stopped me cold. A man in a military jacket, scar under his eye, standing across the street. He didn't look at me, didn't flinch, just leaned against the lamppost like he'd been there for hours, like he was waiting for someone. I turned around and walked the other way. When I got back, my door was unlocked. Inside, nothing looked disturbed, but the closet was open, and the box was gone. I called Detective Harlan immediately. He didn't answer. I texted him. No reply. I went to the police station. They said he wasn't on shift. No idea when he'd be back. I asked if the knife had been turned in. No record of it. I left the building with my stomach knotted into something hard and bitter. Outside, the same man was leaning against a tree near the parking lot. Our eyes met, this time. He smiled, brief, sharp, and then he walked away. Not fast, not slow, just like a man who knew he didn't need to run. That night, I packed a bag. If the knife was gone, I had no proof, and now I wasn't even sure the cops were on my side. I needed to find Elise. I didn't know if she was alive, but I had a feeling someone knew where she was. There had to be something in her things. Emails, letters, a notebook. Something I'd missed. I dug through the old storage unit I hadn't touched in over a year. Dust caked every surface. Mice had chewed through half the boxes, but under a pile of books and cracked picture frames I found it. A locked wooden box. It was hers. I remembered her carrying it once when we moved in together. She said it was private, full of old journals and photos she didn't want to lose. I never asked what was inside. The lock was still intact. I took it home. It took me 3 tries, but eventually I forced it open with a screwdriver. Inside were stacks of photos, most of them ordinary. Her as a child. Her with friends I didn't recognize. Her on a beach somewhere. And then, buried in the bottom, a photo of the man with the scar. Not recent, not posed. It looked like a surveillance shot, blurry, crooked. On the back, follow. Him only if it's safe. Beneath that, a receipt from a motel dated 2 weeks before my accident. I Googled the name. Still open, just off the highway north of town. I grabbed my keys. On the drive, I tried not to think about what I'd do if I found him. If he remembered me. If he'd been watching all this time. If I was already too late. The motel looked like something out of a bad crime show. Neon flickering, peeling paint, an office that smelled like cigarettes and mildew. The clerk didn't look up from his phone when I asked, "Do you remember this, Guy?" I slid the photo across the desk. He glanced. "Maybe. Looks like one of those weekly renters. Real quiet. Paid cash. Do you know where he went?" He shrugged. "Disappeared a while back. Left some junk in the room if you care." "I do." Room 8 hadn't been cleaned in months. Dust covered every surface. The air was stale. I found a chipped coffee mug, a pair of worn boots, and, under the bed, another box, smaller, locked. With initials carved into the top, Elise's. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, a small cassette recorder, a folded letter, and an envelope marked, "If I disappear." I unfolded the letter first. "To whoever finds this, I'm not crazy. I'm not lying." He followed me. He watched me. He said if I talked, you'd die. That he'd make it look like your fault. If you're reading this, maybe I didn't make it. Maybe you remembered. I hope you remember. Just don't trust them. Not all of them. Some of them work for him. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. A scream echoed in the back of my mind. Elise's voice. And then silence. I pressed play on the recorder. The tape clicked, and her voice, real, raw, shaking, filled the room. If something happens, to me, it wasn't him. It wasn't Noah. He tried to protect me. I don't know who to trust anymore. I don't know if this will ever be heard, but if it is, please believe him. He doesn't remember yet. But when he does, it'll all come back, including the weapon. Click. The tape ended, and just like that, everything inside me changed. I wasn't just remembering. I was waking up. The tape still played in my head long after it had stopped. Elise's voice, thick with fear and clarity. He tried to protect me. He doesn't remember yet, but I did now. I remembered everything, and the more I remembered, the worse it got. When I stepped outside the motel room, dusk had already fallen. The sun dipped beneath the highway's edge, casting long orange shadows that made the world look burned. I looked back at the doorway, the box in my hand, and suddenly felt like I was being watched. I drove back to the city with every nerve taut, half expecting headlights to appear behind me and follow me all the way home. But no one did. Not yet. The next morning, I went back to the police station. This time, I demanded to see Detective Harlan. He wasn't on shift again. I asked when he was due back. The officer at the desk just blinked at me. "There's no detective Harlan assigned here." I froze. "What do you mean? He came to my apartment last week. He took the knife." "You must be mistaken," the officer said, frowning now. "We don't have a Harlan. Maybe you mean Detective Marks. He handles cold cases." "No," I said slowly. "I know who I met." He showed a badge. The officer leaned back in his chair. "You have his card?" I didn't. Just a name and a memory. The man who'd taken the knife. The one piece of proof I had wasn't a detective. He was something else. And he knew everything I knew. I left the station without another word, stomach twisting. Someone had infiltrated the investigation, maybe from the beginning. Elise was right. Not all of them could be trusted. Back home, I laid out everything on the table, the photograph, the cassette recorder, Elise's letter, and the box. I turned the letter over, searching for hidden notes. Nothing. The photo had a crease near the bottom, and when I bent it, something slipped out, a small slip of paper, yellowed with age. Coordinates. I typed them into my phone. A location, about 40 miles east, near the edge of the old forest preserve. No address, just a blank spot on the map. It was almost too neat, too perfect. Still, I had no other leads, and something inside me, something I couldn't quite name, pulled me toward it. The road was narrow, lined with leaning trees and forgotten road signs. I passed 2 abandoned cabins, both eaten by vines and time. Finally, I reached the clearing and saw the car. An old Volvo, rusted to hell, half hidden beneath a tarp. The driver's side window was smashed. As I approached, I noticed something else, a faint metallic glint in the grass, another blade. Smaller this time. A pocket knife. This one was clean, but beside it, half buried in the dirt, was a badge, Police issued. I dug it out with trembling fingers. Detective Thomas Harlan. It was real, and it had blood on the corner. I sat back on my heels and stared at the tree line. My mind reeled. Who had I let into my house? Someone wearing a dead man's name, carrying his badge. I took photos of everything. I sent them to a secure backup cloud. If I disappeared, someone had to know. Then I called the number Elise had written in the back of one of her journals. Just a first name next to it. Daniel, trust him if I can't. He answered on the second ring. Who is this? He asked, voice sharp. My name is Noah. I was with Elise. I think she's in danger. Silence. Then, how did you get this number? She left it. In a journal. She said to call you if anything happened. Another pause. Then he said, Where are you? I hesitated. I can't tell you yet. I need to know. Were you a friend? Was her handler? That word chilled me. Handler. Like she'd been in hiding. Like someone was trying to control her. Meet me, I said, face to face, somewhere public. We picked a diner on the edge of town, bright lights, security cameras, witnesses. I got there early, sat in a booth facing the door, every muscle on alert. Daniel arrived 10 minutes late. Late 40s, calm. Face, gray jacket. He moved like someone who knew where every exit was. He slid into the booth without a word. We didn't shake hands. You were with Elise, he said. I still don't know where she is. She's gone dark. We lost contact a month after your accident. Why didn't you come looking for her? I did. She told me to stay away, said there was a new player, someone inside. I nodded. I think I met him. His eyes narrowed. Describe him. I did. Military jacket. Scar. Pretending to be Detective Harlan. Daniel exhaled slowly. His name's Mercer, former intelligence, dirty contracts overseas. He disappeared 3 years ago after a failed operation in Libya. And now he's here. Looks like. Why her? Daniel rubbed his hands together. She saw something she shouldn't have. A transaction, an execution. It wasn't supposed to reach civilian eyes. She had proof, a hard drive. She ran. And me? You were cover. They watched you both. Thought she'd be safer with someone. Then she vanished. They assumed she was dead. Until she made contact again. She tried to protect me, I said, voice low. Daniel nodded. She always did. I pulled out my phone, showed him the photo, the letter, the coordinates, the badge. When I mentioned the knife, his jaw tightened. They have it. They took it from my apartment. Said they were police. We need to move now, Daniel said, standing. This isn't just about her anymore. If Mercer's collecting evidence, he's building a case, or wiping it clean. I followed him outside. We took separate cars, tailing each other with enough distance not to draw attention. He directed me to a small warehouse on the outskirts, gray siding, barbed wire fence, no signage. He unlocked the side door with a key he didn't explain. Inside was cold. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A table in the center held folders, maps, and what looked like surveillance photos. Some of me, some of Elise, some I didn't recognize. This is where we regroup, he said. I've been watching for movement. Last confirmed location for Elise was 3 months ago, 30 miles south. Surveillance caught someone matching her build leaving a shelter. No ID, no return. He pulled up the grainy footage. It was her. Or close enough to make my breath catch. She's alive, Daniel nodded. But not safe. She thinks I still don't remember. Then that's our advantage. I looked at him. You want to use me. I want to find her, and you're the only one who can draw Mercer out." He was right. Mercer wasn't after Elise anymore. He was after what Elise had left with me. My memories. We planned the trap over the next 2 hours. A fake meetup, a burner phone, a decoy drop location where we'd pretend I had the hard drive. We'd leak it through a known channel Mercer was monitoring. A whisper that the amnesiac boyfriend was finally remembering things and had proof. "We bait him," Daniel said. "Then we follow. Unless he kills me first." Daniel met my eyes. "He won't. Not if he thinks you're still useful." I wanted to ask what happened after that. If we'd arrest him, expose everything. But the look on Daniel's face told me this wasn't going through official channels. This was off book, and it always had been. We launched the operation 2 days later. I waited in a public park, sitting alone on a bench with a flash drive in my hand. It held nothing, just family photos and fake documents. But it looked real. Daniel was in a van nearby, feeding the camera live to a laptop. 2 backup agents were scattered across the street. I sat there for almost an hour before someone joined me. Not Mercer. Her Elise. She wore a hoodie, hair tucked up, face thinner than I remembered. But it was her. She sat without looking at me. "I told you not to remember," she whispered. "I didn't try to. I saw your message. They're watching everything. I had to know you were alive." She turned slightly. "You shouldn't have come." Mercer already came. He took the knife. He pretended to be Harlan. She blinked. "Then it's too late." I reached for her hand. "We can still end this. Daniel's here. We have people." She shook her head. "Not enough." Then she stood. "Wait, where are you going?" But she was already walking. I started to rise, but then Mercer appeared, like smoke. 1 second he wasn't there. The next, he was right in front of me. Gun pressed under his jacket. Smile cold. "Hello?" "Noah," my heart thudded. "You've caused a lot of noise," he said. "We don't like noise." "I don't care what you like. Brave," he said. "But this isn't about bravery. It's about memory. You remember the wrong things, Noah." He leaned in closer. "But do you remember who gave you the knife?" I froze. "What?" He smiled. "You think you saved her? You think you stopped me?" "I did." "No," he said. "She made you." And just like that, the ground shifted again. The memory warped, and I remembered something new. Not her screaming, but her handing me the knife, telling me to wait behind the door to make it look real. Then the knock. Then the blood. Then I forgot everything. It felt like the world had tilted sideways. I stared at Mercer, the gun still pressed casually against his jacket, and behind his cold smile I could feel something unraveling inside me, something that had always been there, just out of reach, a sliver of memory I'd ignored, a feeling I had refused to name. She handed me the knife. Elise. She said it was the only way, to make it look real, to make him stop coming, to make them all believe. My mind raced. Why would she? I started. Mercer interrupted. Because she played you, Noah, the same way she played all of us. No. She used you to disappear. And you were perfect. Amnesia, trauma, a clean slate. No one suspects the victim. I remember stopping you. No, he said, stepping closer. You remember what she wanted you to remember. The pressure of the gun pushed lightly against my ribs. You ever wonder, Mercer continued, why she vanished so cleanly? Why every trace of her life evaporated? No prints, no DNA, not even a body. Because she planned it. All of it. You were just the stage. She was afraid of you. Was she? Or did she know I was the only one who could ruin the performance? My mouth felt dry. I glanced toward the surveillance van. Was Daniel still watching? Had he seen Elise? Mercer leaned in again. Here's the problem. You remembered too much. So now we erase it again. My hand tightened around the flash drive. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. Then a shout in the distance. Mercer's head jerked up just as Daniel burst from behind a tree. "Drop it!" Daniel yelled, weapon raised. In one fluid motion, Mercer spun and fired. The bullet hit Daniel in the shoulder. I dove to the ground. More gunshots erupted. Someone screamed. I didn't know who was hit. I didn't care. I crawled behind the bench, heart pounding, trying to catch my breath. I pulled the burner phone from my jacket and sent the emergency code Daniel gave me. 30 seconds later, backup swarmed the park. Mercer was gone. Vanished like a ghost. Daniel was on the ground bleeding, face pale but alive. I knelt beside him. "I'm fine," he rasped. "Find her. Find Elise." But she was gone too. By the time the agents combed the perimeter, there was no sign of her. No tracks. No trail. Just the wind rustling the trees and a growing sense of dread in my chest. She had been there. She had spoken to me. And she had run again. Why? I returned to the warehouse with Daniel once he was stabilized. His arm was wrapped in gauze, his voice weaker but determined. "She used you, Noah. You're not the first. But you might be the last. I need to understand." He nodded. "Then you need to see this." From a hidden compartment beneath the table, he pulled a file. Thick, stamped with red letters, "Unclassified." He slid it across the table. I opened it. The first photo was of Elise, but not the Elise I knew. This one had shorter hair, a different posture, and darker eyes. Cold eyes, like she was looking through the camera. "Is this—" "Her real name's not Elise," Daniel said. "That was her fourth alias in 5 years." The next pages were surveillance notes. She had posed as a journalist, then a humanitarian worker, then a legal aide, always close to political flashpoints, always near disappearances. "She was working for someone," I said. "Or for herself," Daniel replied. "We never figured it out. All we know is that wherever she went, something happened, and someone died." The last page was a report. Subject believed to be involved in false flag operations, skilled in manipulation, forgery, and psychological coercion. Highly intelligent, highly dangerous. My throat tightened. "So why did you send her to me?" "I didn't," he said. "She found you, chose you. Maybe she saw something in you. Maybe she just needed someone to believe her. But I did believe her. I know." I leaned back in the chair, eyes closed, thoughts spinning like loose paper in the wind. What was the drive she was trying to protect? Daniel hesitated. "We're not sure. Something she stole from a Russian intelligence officer, encrypted, never cracked it. And she left it with me? She said she would. We just never found it. I thought about the flash drive in my pocket, the decoy. And then I remembered the real one. Not a drive. A memory card. I ran home, tore apart the closet, and found the old camera Elise used to carry on trips. I popped open the battery compartment. There it was. Tiny. Dusty. Real. Back. At the warehouse, Daniel plugged it in. The computer screen flickered, then loaded, a series of video files. The first showed a group of men in military gear surrounding a bound civilian. The footage was grainy but clear enough. The man was executed point blank. No trial. No hesitation. The Next clip showed the same unit laughing, drinking, sharing documents, and Mercer among them, unmasked. Laughing. The final clip showed Elise, secretly filming herself, whispers, tears in her eyes. If anything happens to me, this is why. Not because I ran, because I knew, because I kept it, and because I couldn't let it disappear. I felt something crack in my chest. She hadn't just been protecting herself. She'd been carrying a truth too dangerous to share, and I'd been her shield, even when I didn't know it. Daniel sat back in his chair. This is enough. For what? To expose them? To save her? He looked at me, solemn. Noah, I think she's long past saving. I didn't accept that. I couldn't. The footage was released to the press 3 days later, carefully, through encrypted channels. Major outlets picked it up. Whistleblowers confirmed. The Pentagon denied. Then retracted. Then fell silent. Mercer's face was splashed across every screen in America, but he was never found. And Elise? She sent me one letter, postmarked from Lisbon, no return address, no signature, just 4 words. You remembered. Thank you. And enclosed, a photograph of us. On the beach, before any of it began, before the lies, before the knife, before she handed me a role in a story I never wanted to be part of. I still don't know if she loved me or just needed me, but I do know this. Sometimes memory is a weapon, and sometimes it's the only thing that can save you or destroy you.